Hello and welcome. Tonight we begin a quiet, very slow journey through the history of Rome. The founding of Rome in the early Republic, 753 BC, 509 BC. This is the kind of history that is meant to gently put you to sleep. There will be no loud battles, no dramatic twists, just slow, calm facts about one of the most long-standing civilizations in human history. So get comfortable, lay back, and let's begin. In the year 753 BC, long ago, in what is now central Italy, there was a region called Latium. The Tiber River flowed through it slowly, like the story. It was a peaceful river, not too fast, not too wide, just steady. By the side of that river, there was a hill. It would later be called the Palatine Hill. That hill was one of 7. According to legend, 2 brothers, Romulus and Remus, were born to a woman named Rhea Silvia. She was a Vestal virgin, which means she had sworn not to have children. But the god Mars supposedly visited her, and then she had twins. That is what the legend says. The twins were abandoned, placed in a basket, and left to float on the river, much like the way your thoughts might float now. They were rescued by a she-wolf. Yes, a wolf. And she raised them gently, just like this story is gently unfolding. Romulus and Remus grew older. They wanted to build a city, but they disagreed on where. So, Romulus killed his brother. It was not very peaceful, but it was decisive. Romulus became the first king of Rome. The city of Rome began slowly. Houses were made of mud and straw. People farmed. They herded animals. They lived simple, slow lives. Romulus ruled for many years. Then came another king, and then another. There were 7 kings in total. One of them was named Numa Pompilius. He liked religion. He created Roman priesthoods. He also liked peace. He did not go to war. He preferred rituals and calendars, just like you might prefer rest and calm. Right now, another king was Tullus Hostilius. He was the opposite. He liked war. He fought with neighboring cities. But this story will not describe battles, just names, dates, and dull facts. In time, the last king came. His name was Lucius Tarquinius Superbus. His nickname was Tarquin the Proud. He was not well liked. In 509 BC, the people decided they did not want kings anymore. They wanted to rule together. So began the Roman Republic. The Republic, it was very organized. There were 2 leaders called consuls. They were elected each year. They could not serve twice in a row. There was also a Senate made up of old men, wise, quiet men who talked a lot but did very little, quickly. The early Republic was simple and very slow, just like this voice. There were classes. Patricians were rich. Plebeians were not. They argued for a long time about rights, about land, about who could hold office. It took hundreds of years on to find balance. There were also wars with neighbors like the Etruscans and the Samnites. But we won't go into that. Just know that Rome slowly expanded, very slowly, like time when you are trying to sleep. They built roads. They built aqueducts. They spoke Latin. They used bronze and iron. They prayed to many gods, Jupiter, Mars, Venus. Their temples and were built with care. And so, as Rome moved from kings to consul, from mud huts to stone wall, from she-wolf legends to Senate debates, the city grew, but it was not in a hurry. It was patient, steady, and very, very boring. That concludes Part 1, the beginning of the Roman Republic. If you are still awake, You may continue to part 2, where we will explore with the Punic Wars and meet a man named Hannibal, who rode an elephant. But for now, close your eyes and let the slow hum of Roman history guide you into restful, uninterrupted sleep. The Punic Wars and Rome's expansion, 264 BC, 146 BC. Welcome back. If you're still with us, let your mind remain calm as we now continue with the slow, uneventful tale of Rome. In this part, we will talk about the Punic Wars. They were very long and quite repetitive. Just like this narration, the wars were fought between Rome and a city called Carthage. Carthage was in North Africa, modern-day Tunisia, right across the sea from Sicily. It all began in 264 BC. That was a long time ago, but the reason for war was very simple. They both wanted Sicily, a nice island, with ports and trade routes. This led to the First Punic War. Rome had a strong army, but Carthage had ships, big, fast, noisy ships. So Rome built ships too, many ships, but slowly. They copied Carthaginian designs, then added something very Roman. It was called a corvus, a boarding bridge, because Romans liked to fight like soldiers, even on water. The war lasted 23 years. That's a long time for just one war. It was mostly sea battles, one after the other. Many ships sank. Eventually, Carthage lost. Rome took Sicily. That was the end of the First War. But peace didn't last. There came another war. The Second Punic War began in 218 BC. This time, a man named Hannibal became famous. He was from Carthage, and he did something very strange. He crossed the Alps with elephants. Yes, elephants. Through the cold, through the snow, with an army. And the Romans, when were surprised, there were many battles. One of the most famous was called Cannae. In 216 BC, Hannibal surrounded the Roman army. It was a clever move. He won that battle. Many Romans died, but Hannibal didn't march on Rome. He waited, and Rome slowly recovered. Very slowly. A Roman general named Scipio Africanus went to Africa instead. He fought Hannibal there. This led to the Battle of Zama. In 202 BC, Carthage lost again. That was the end of the Second War. But Rome still wasn't done. Years later, in 149 BC, Carthage was rising again, peacefully, quietly. But some Romans didn't like that. One senator, named Cato the Elder, always ended his speeches with, "Carthage must be destroyed." So, Rome started the Third Punic War. It lasted only 3 years. In 146 BC, Rome attacked Carthage directly. The city burned for days. When it ended, Carthage was gone. The land was ruined. People were enslaved. Rome now controlled North Africa. This marked a turning point. Rome was not just a city anymore. It was becoming an empire. It had Spain. It had Greece. It had Sicily and Africa. It had wealth. It had slaves. It had generals. Growing powerful. But with power came problems. Back in Rome, there were conflicts. Rich got richer, poor got poorer, and soldiers became more loyal to generals than to the Senate. This would eventually lead to civil wars, but that's for another night. So tonight, we close the scrolls on the Punic Wars. 3 long conflicts, onion one lost city, and the slow rise of a republic that was becoming something else. If you are still awake, you may join us in part 3, where we meet Julius Caesar and discover how a republic slowly became an empire. But for now, let your eyes close and let the elephants fade from your mind. There is no rush, only quiet history and sleep. Julius Caesar in the end of the Republic, 100 BC, 44 BC. Welcome back. You're still here, and Rome is still growing. But so are its problems. We are now in the 1st century before Christ. Around 100 BC, a baby named Gaius Julius Caesar is born. And this baby will grow into a man who will change everything, but not quickly. No, very, very slowly. Rome by now had conquered much of the Mediterranean, Spain, Greece, North Africa, parts of Asia Minor. It was large, but unstable. The Senate was arguing. The poor were angry, and the generals were growing ambitious. There were two political factions, the optimates, who supported the old ways, and the populares, who claimed to support the people. Caesar worried would join the populares, but before all that, he had to rise through the ranks. Caesar began as a priest, then a soldier, then a speaker in the courts. He was clever and charming and had many debts, but he used charm to make friends, powerful friends. One of them was Pompey, a famous general. Another was Crassus, the richest man in Rome. Together, they formed an unofficial alliance called the First Triumvirate. That word means rule of three, but only one would last. Caesar became consul. Then he went to Gaul, modern-day France. He fought many battles there, won many victories, wrote many letters. His writing was calm, clear, and modest, but he always wrote about himself in third person, as if telling bedtime stories about how great he was. Years passed, and Caesar became very popular, too popular. Back in Rome, the Senate grew nervous. Pompey turned against him. They asked Caesar to come home, but without his army. Caesar refused. In 49 BC, he crossed the Rubicon River with his army. It was a small river, but crossing it was a declaration of war. He said, "The die is cast," and marched toward Rome. A civil war began, Caesar versus Pompey. It lasted a few years. Pompey fled, then died in Egypt. Caesar followed and met Cleopatra. She was young, smart, and powerful. They became close, very close. He helped her win her throne. Then he returned to Rome, victorious. The Senate named him dictator for life. But some did not like this. They believed in the old republic, where no man should have so much power. A group of senators, led by Brutus and Cassius, plotted in secret. They said it was for Rome. On the Ides of March, March 15th, 44 BC, Caesar entered the Senate. He sat down. They gathered around, and they stabbed him 23 times. He said nothing until he saw Brutus. Then, according to one account, he said, "Et tu, Brute," which means, "You too, Brutus." And then he fell. Caesar was dead. The Republic was not saved, but broken. His death led to another war, more chaos. His adopted son, Octavian, would rise next. But that is for another night. Now rest. Rome is in mourning. The Senate is confused. The people are whispering. Let their voices fade in the background. You don't need to stay awake to hear what comes next. But if you do, join us in part 4, where we watch Rome become an empire and Octavian becomes Augustus. Augustus and the birth of the Roman Empire, 44 BC, 14 AD. Hello again. Tonight, we return to Rome. Still quiet, still restless, still ancient. In our last chapter, Julius Caesar was gone, stabbed by men he trusted. But Rome did not return to peace, not yet. Instead, there was more, waiting, and more, civil war. After Caesar's death, a young man stepped forward. He was Caesar's great-nephew, an adopted son. His name was Gaius Octavius, but you may know him as Augustus. He was only 18 years old, but he was clever, patient, and very, very calm. He claimed Caesar's name and his inheritance. Some were skeptical, but slowly, he gained support. He joined forces with two powerful men. One was Mark Antony, Caesar's former ally, strong, brave, and popular. The other was Lepidus, less famous, but useful. Together, they formed the Second Triumvirate, another group of three ruling Rome together. But, as always, power does not like sharing. Lepidus was pushed aside, quietly, painlessly. Then came the tension between Antony and Octavian. It grew slowly, like a fire under ashes. Antony had gone to Egypt. There, he met Cleopatra. Yes, again, they became lovers and had children. He started acting less Roman and more Egyptian. Rome was uneasy. Octavian used this. He said Antony had betrayed Rome. In 31 BC, they met in battle, the Battle of Actium at sea. Octavian's fleet won. Antony and Cleopatra returned to Egypt and, soon after, took their own lives, quietly, together. Octavian was now alone, in control, but he did not call himself king. Roman did not like kings. So, in 27 BC, he accepted a new title, Augustus, meaning the revered one. And so began the Roman Empire. Augustus ruled for over 40 years. It was called the Pax Romana, the Roman peace. He kept the Senate, but it had little power. He called himself first citizen, but he made all the decisions. He passed laws, built roads, reformed taxes, and created a standing army. He also created the Praetorian Guard. His personal bodyguards, they wore armor and stood silently, watching. Augustus also cared about appearances. He built temples, restored monuments, and claimed he found Rome a city of brick and left it a city of marble. He was popular and cautious. He avoided being called a dictator, but everyone knew he was in charge. In his personal life, he had one daughter, Julia, but she caused trouble, affairs, scandals. So he exiled her, far away. It was quiet and final. Augustus was married to Livia. She was calm, smart, and, some say, very strategic. When Augustus grew old, he chose her son from another marriage to become the next emperor. His name was Tiberius. In 14 AD, Augustus died, quietly, at age 75. His last words, according to some, were, "Have I played my part well? Then applaud as I exit." The people mourned. The Senate declared him a god. Rome now belonged to emperors. The Republic was a memory. And so, our journey continues. From a boy named Octavius to an emperor named Augustus, the first ruler of an empire that would last hundreds of years. If your eyes are still open, know that part 5 will bring us into darker times, with emperors like Tiberius, Caligula, and Nero. Their stories are strange, but even strange stories can be told very, very slowly. Sleep well and return when you are ready. For the emperors of Rome, the Julio-Claudian emperors, madness and majesty, 14 AD, 68 AD. Welcome back. You are now deep in the Roman Empire. The Republic is gone. The people are quiet. The temples are still. And the emperors are rising. We now enter the Julio-Claudian dynasty, the first family to rule Rome like royalty. But Rome still does not have kings, at least not by name. We begin with Tiberius, the stepson of Augustus, chosen to rule after his death in 14 AD. Tiberius was serious and quiet, and often quite sad. He did not enjoy being emperor, but he ruled anyway. At first, where things were calm, he respected the Senate, he paid the soldiers, he expanded the empire. But over time, he grew tired, suspicious, withdrawn. He left Rome, moved to an island, Capri. There he stayed for years, surrounded by guards, in silence. In his place, he allowed others to rule. One of them was a man named Sejanus, ambitious, clever, but he grew too powerful. So Tiberius had him killed, quietly, efficiently. Tiberius died in 37 AD at the age of 77, perhaps by illness, perhaps by poison. No one knows for sure. And so the empire passed to a new ruler. His name was Gaius, but we remember him as Caligula. That name means little boots, a nickname from his childhood. At first, people loved him. He gave bonuses to the soldiers, held games, freed prisoners. Then he became ill. When he recovered, something had changed. He began to act strangely. He insulted senators, built golden statues of himself, demanded to be worshipped as a god. He appointed his horse to a government office. He would speak for hours about nonsense. He laughed when others cried. He cried when others clapped. He was unpredictable. Some said he had gone mad. In 41 AD, after just 4 years, his own guards, the Praetorians, assassinated him. Next came Claudius. He was Caligula's uncle. People thought he was weak. He stuttered. He limped. He liked books. But Claudius surprised everyone. He became a strong emperor. He conquered Britain. He improved the courts. He built aqueducts. But he also trusted the wrong people. One of them was his wife. Her name was Agrippina. She had a son from a previous marriage, and she wanted that son to become emperor. So, in 54 AD, Claudius died, possibly poisoned with mushrooms. That son's name was Nero, and Nero would be remembered. At first, he was calm. He gave speeches, supported the arts, lowered taxes. But over time, he changed. He liked singing, performing. He sang for hours in theaters and palaces. No one could leave until he finished. People clapped, even if they were tired. He grew paranoid. He executed rivals, even his own mother. In 64 AD, a great fire swept through Rome. Many blamed Nero. Some said he played music. As the city burned, we cannot be sure. But Nero blamed the Christians and punished them harshly. His rule grew worse. More executions, more fear. By 68 AD, the Senate turned against him. Nero fled and took his own life. His last words were, "What an artist dies in me." With Nero's death, the Julio-Claudian line ended and Rome fell into chaos. But that is for another time. Now sleep. The madness is over. The palaces are dark. The emperors are gone. Only the soft wind remains and the sound of still history. If you're still awake, join us for part 6, where 4 men fight to become emperor. In the year of 4 emperors. But for now, rest. The empire will still be here when you wake. The year of the 4 emperors, 69 AD. Welcome back. The year is now 68 AD. Nero is gone. He has taken his final bow, and the Roman stage is now empty, but not for long. What comes next is confusion and ambition. The next year, 69 AD, will be remembered as the year of the 4 emperors. Yes, 4 men, each claiming the throne, one after another. It was not fast, it was not smooth, but it was Roman. We begin with Galba. He was old, very old and strict. He had been governor of Spain. When Nero died, the Senate chose him. He marched into Rome with soldiers and rules. He cut spending, canceled rewards, and dismissed guards. The Praetorian Guard was angry. Galba lasted 7 months. He was killed in the Forum. Next came Otho. He had once been a friend of Nero. He bribed the Praetorians. They cheered. He was emperor now. He wore a purple cloak, held processions. But his rule was immediately challenged. From the north came Vitellius. Vitellius was a general. He had the support of the German legions. They marched south. Otho prepared to fight. But after one battle, he gave up. He wrote a farewell letter and took his own life in peace. He ruled for only 3 months. Vitellius entered Rome. He loved food and parades and games. He held long dinners, watched races, laughed often. But he was not careful and not very strong. In the east, another general rose. His name was Vespasian. He had been fighting in Judea, a long, difficult campaign. But now, he was heading to Rome. His troops marched slowly, but surely. By December of 69 AD, Vespasian's forces reached Rome. Vitellius tried to resist, but the people turned. He was dragged through the streets and killed. Just like that, Vespasian became the fourth and final emperor of that year. Calm, strong, patient, and so ended the year of the 4 emperors. It had been a year of change, from Galba to Otho to Vitellius to Vespasian, one after another. Each a chapter, each now silent. Vespasian would bring stability. He would begin a new dynasty, the Flavian dynasty. He would build the Colosseum, but that comes later. For now, the empire rests. The people are quiet. The streets are still. And you may finally close your eyes. The fighting is over. The dust has settled. Tomorrow will bring emperors and stone and sand and lions. But tonight is for peace. If your breath is steady and your mind is calm, you may drift. Or, if you are still awake, we may continue with part 7, Vespasian, Titus, and the Flavian peace. Shall I continue? Vespasian, Titus, and the Flavian peace, 69 AD, 96 AD. Welcome back. The empire is quiet again. After a year of turmoil, a new man now wears the purple. His name is Vespasian. He is not royal, not descended from gods, not the son of Caesar. He is a soldier, a builder, and a father. Vespasian came from humble beginnings. He had fought in Britain and later in Judea. He was known for being practical, frugal, and sometimes a little sarcastic. He did not like gold. He liked stone. One of his first projects was the construction of a great arena, the Flavian Amphitheater. You may know it as the Colosseum. It was built on land that once held Nero's palace, the Golden House. Now, it would be for the people, gladiators, wild beasts, mock naval battles. It would hold thousands, but it was not built quickly, stone by stone, year by year. Vespasian also focused on finances. Rome was poor after civil war. He raised taxes, even taxed public toilets. When criticized, he held up a coin and said, "Money does not smell." He ruled for 10 years. He died in 79 AD. His final words were quiet. "I think I'm becoming a god." It was tradition for emperor to be declared divine. Even Vespasian could not resist the irony. After his death, his son, Titus, became emperor. Titus was strong, handsome, and popular, but his reign was short. In 79 AD, just months after taking power, a mountain erupted, Mount Vesuvius. It buried the cities of Pompeii and Herculaneum. Ash fell. Darkness covered the skies. People ran, then froze. The cities would remain buried for nearly 1,700 years. Titus responded with compassion. He helped survivors, sent aid, and rebuilt homes. Then, in 80 AD, he opened the Colosseum with 100 days of games. The people cheered, lions roared, swords clashed. Titus watched. But in 81 AD, he died, suddenly at age 41. Some say illness, some whisper poison. His brother, Domitian, now ruled. Domitian was different. He liked order. He liked being called master and god. He built more, fought in Germany, increased the army's pay. But he was cold, harsh, and suspicious. He executed senators and exiled writers. He walked through marble halls alone. In 96 AD, his servants killed him, silently, in his palace. He had ruled for 15 years, but no one mourned. The Senate erased his name. Damnatio memoria, condemnation of memory. They wanted Rome to forget, but Rome never forgets. And so ends the Flavian dynasty, from Vespasian to Titus to Domitian. 3 emperors, 3 styles, 1 family. Now they are silent. As you rest, let the ashes of Pompeii settle. Let the Colosseum echo in the distance. Let the empire sleep, while history whispers, slowly, if you are still awake. The next chapter awaits. Part 8, The 5 Good Emperors. Shall I continue? The 5 Good Emperors, 96 AD, 180 AD. Welcome back. The halls of Rome have grown quiet again. The Flavians are gone, and now a new chapter begins. A chapter of peace, of reason, of long, thoughtful rule. This era will be called the Age of the 5 Good Emperors. It begins in the year 96 AD. The Senate selects a man. His name is Nerva. He is old and wise and careful. He promises no revenge, no purges, only calm. He adopts a younger man to follow him. His name is Trajan. Nerva rules for only 2 years. He dies peacefully in his bed, and now Trajan becomes emperor. It is the year 98 AD. Trajan is different. He is a soldier, tall, disciplined, respected by his men. He builds roads, bridges, markets. He expands the empire to its greatest size. He conquers Dacia, modern-day Romania. Gold flows into Rome. He builds Trajan's Column, a tall stone tower carved with scenes of quiet victory. The Senate names him Optimus Princeps, the best ruler. He rules for 19 years. Then he dies, quietly. But before his death, he names a new successor, a man he trusted. His name was Hadrian. Hadrian was a traveler. He loved Greek culture, philosophy, architecture. He traveled all across the empire, to Gaul, to Britain, to Egypt. Wherever he went, he built. He built cities, temples, libraries, and he built a wall, Hadrian's Wall. It marked the edge of the empire in the north of Britain. He also built the Pantheon, a temple to all gods. Its dome still stands 2,000 years later. Hadrian ruled for 21 years, then he died, and now a new man steps forward. His name is Antoninus Pius, a quiet man, gentle, loyal. He ruled for peace, no wars, no executions. He respected law. He loved order. The people called him kind. He ruled for 23 years, and then he passed away in his sleep. Before he died, he had adopted 2 sons. One was Marcus Aurelius, the other was Lucius Verus. Together they ruled for a short time. Then Lucius died, and Marcus ruled alone. Marcus Aurelius was not just an emperor, he was a philosopher. He wrote a book called Meditations, filled with calm thoughts and quiet reflections. He believed in duty and endurance, but his time was not peaceful. There were wars along the northern borders, the Marcomannic Wars. There was plague, sickness spread, many died. But Marcus kept writing. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." He ruled with patience and calm until 180 AD. Then he died, and with him, the era of the 5 good emperors came to an end. Nerva, Trajan, Hadrian, Antoninus Pius, Marcus Aurelius, 5 rulers, in peace and quiet strength. They were not perfect, but they were wise. And now, they are gone. The empire is large, stable, but cracks are forming, and ahead, a storm is coming. If you are still awake, the next voice in history is that of Commodus, and with him begins the long road to Rome's decline. But for now, rest. Let the thoughts of marble domes and silent temples carry you into sleep. Commodus in the beginning of Rome's fall, 180 AD, 192 AD. Welcome back. The empire is still vast, but the air is changing. The marble is cracked. The roads are worn. The Senate is quiet, and a new emperor now sits on the throne. His name is Commodus. He is the son of Marcus Aurelius. His father was wise, a philosopher, a thinker, but Commodus was different. He loved attention. He loved power. He loved being seen. He was only 18 years old when he became emperor, in the year 180 AD. At first, when people had hope, he was young and the son of a great man. But very quickly, that hope faded. Commodus did not like governing. He left much of it to advisors. He preferred the arena. He loved watching fights, and even more, he loved joining them. Yes, Commodus fought as a gladiator. He dressed in armor, took a wooden sword, entered the Colosseum, and staged victories. The people watched. Some clapped, some whispered. The Senate was horrified. An emperor, acting like an entertainer. But Commodus did not care. He believed he was the reincarnation of Hercules. He wore lion skins, carried a club, demanded statues of himself. He renamed months after his own names. He renamed Rome itself, Colonia Commodiana. Yes, the Eternal City, rebranded. He ruled for 12 years, each year more unstable. He executed senators, demanded worship, held lavish festivals, and taxed the empire heavily. Eventually, his own servants grew tired. In the year 192 AD, his favorite mistress helped plan his end. A wrestler entered his bath chamber, and Commodus was strangled just like that. The son of a philosopher was gone. With Commodus dead, the empire was leaderless. Again, chaos returned, and in the next year, 5 different men would claim the throne, just like before. This began a time of crisis. The Severan dynasty would follow. Short-lived, full of struggle, the empire would survive, but barely. For now, let the Colosseum grow still. Let the torches burn low. Let the city sleep. Commodus is gone, and Rome will never be the same again. If you are still with me, and your mind is not yet at rest, we will continue with part 10, the Severan emperors and the road to decline. But if you sleep now, that is perfectly fine. The empire will wait. Shall I continue? The Severan emperors and the road to decline, 1933 AD to 235 AD. Welcome again. The Colosseum is quiet. The throne is empty, and Rome is uncertain. It is now 193 AD, the beginning of the Severan dynasty, the beginning of a slow unraveling. After Commodus, there was chaos. One man, Pertinax, became emperor. He tried to restore order. He tried to be wise. But the Praetorian Guard did not like him. They killed him after only 86 days. Then, something strange happened. The throne was auctioned. Yes, the Praetorian Guard sold it to the highest bidder. A man named Didius Julianus offered them gold. He became emperor. The people were shocked. The Senate was silent, and the provinces were angry. From the legions in the east came a general. His name was Septimius Severus. He marched toward Rome. No speeches, no debate, just soldiers and purpose. When he arrived, he took power. Didius Julianus was executed quickly, quietly. Severus ruled firmly. He trusted the army. More than the Senate, he increased their pay, gave them land. He also fought in Parthia and Africa, expanding borders, gaining wealth. He ruled for 18 years before his death. He gave advice to his sons. He said, "Live in harmony, enrich the soldiers, despise all others." Then he died in Britain on campaign in the cold. His sons were Caracalla and Geta. They were supposed to rule together, but Caracalla had other plans. He killed his brother in their mother's arms and ruled alone. Caracalla gave citizenship to all free men in the empire. It helped with taxes, it helped with numbers. But he was also cruel. He had his enemies killed. He bathed in luxury and dressed like a god. In 217 AD, he was stabbed by his own guard while relieving himself. Next came short reigns: Macrinus, Elagabalus, Severus Alexander, one after another, each one weaker, each one stranger. Elagabalus worshipped the sun, dressed in gold, married many of both genders. He was assassinated at 18. Then came Severus Alexander. He tried to restore order, but he was young and ignored. In 235 AD, he was killed by his own troops. And with that, the Severan line ended. What followed was even worse. The empire would enter its greatest crisis. Dozens of emperors, one after another. Civil war, plague, invasion, but not yet. For now, let the marble cool. Let the sword sleep. The Severans are gone. The soldiers are marching, and Rome will be tested. If you are still with me, we will continue with part 11, the crisis of the 3rd century, a time of emperors and silence, of fear and stillness. Shall I go on? The crisis of the 3rd century, 235 AD to 284 AD. Welcome back. You are still with us, and Rome is still standing, but not strong. Not now. The year is 235 AD. The last Severan emperor, Severus Alexander, has just been killed. And with his death, the empire enters a time of crisis, a time of confusion, of many emperors, of few answers. This is the 3rd century crisis. For the next 50 years, Rome will see at least 26 emperors. Most will die violently. Some will rule for days, others for months, very few for years. The empire will nearly fall. It begins with a man named Maximinus Thrax. He was a soldier, very tall, very strong. He had no noble blood. He never entered Rome. He ruled from the front. He taxed the rich to pay the army. The Senate hated him. In 238 AD, he was killed by his own men. Then came the year of 6 emperors. Yes, 6. They rose. They fell like shadows in torchlight. The people stopped remembering names. They remembered only the chaos. As one emperor died, another rose. Gordian I and Gordian II, father and son, both gone in weeks. Then Gordian III, a teenager. He ruled for 6 years, but was killed on campaign. Some said he was murdered. Some said he fell from illness. The army chose new men, again and again. Philip the Arab came next. He made peace, celebrated Rome's 1000th birthday. Then he was defeated in battle, gone. Then came Decius. He fought against invading tribes. He tried to restore old Roman religion. He began the first empire-wide persecution of Christians. In 251 AD, he died in battle. His body was never found, and so it continued. Valerian ruled. He fought Persia. He was captured alive, the only emperor ever taken as a prisoner of war. He was humiliated, used as a footstool, then killed. His skin may have been used as a trophy. His son Gallienus ruled alone. tried to hold things together, but there were revolts, there were invasions, there were plagues, cities shrank, fields went untended, coins lost value. In the West, a general named Postumus created the Gallic Empire. In the East, Palmyra rose, led by Queen Zenobia. The Roman Empire was breaking apart, but it did not fall, not yet. Toward the end of the century, a new emperor emerged. His name was Aurelian. He wore armor, spoke little, and acted fast. He defeated the Gallic Empire, defeated Zenobia, reunited the empire. They called him Restorer of the World. But in 275 AD, he was killed by his own officers. After Aurelian, more emperors came, more assassinations, until finally, in 284 AD, a man named Diocletian rose, and with him, a new order would begin. But for now, the crisis has passed. The fields are still, the soldiers sleep, the torches burn low. The empire has survived, barely. If your eyes are closing now, let them close. Let the noise of lost emperors fade. But if you wish to go on, next is part 12. Diocletian and the Tetrarchy, a new system, a new chance. Shall I continue? Diocletian and the Tetrarchy, 284 AD to 305 AD. Welcome back. The empire is tired, but not yet finished. The year is now 284 AD, and from the eastern provinces, a quiet man rises, a soldier, a thinker, a planner. His name is Diocletian. He did not rise by birth. He rose by discipline. His full name was long, Gaius Aurelius Valerius Diocletianus. But most simply said, Diocletian. He becomes emperor, and immediately, he begins to change everything, not quickly, but firmly. The empire was too large, too unstable, too vulnerable. So Diocletian creates a new system. He does not rule alone. He names a co-emperor. His name is Maximian. Together, they rule. One from the east, one from the west. But even that is not enough. So they each choose a helper, the junior emperor. They are called Caesars. The two senior rulers are Augusti. The juniors are Caesars. This is the Tetrarchy. 4 men, 4 capitals, 1 empire. Diocletian rules from Nicomedia, far from Rome. Maximian rules from Milan, closer to the front lines. The Caesars are stationed in Gaul and Syria. The idea is stability, clear succession, shared burdens, and for a while it works. Diocletian reforms taxes, he freezes prices, he divides provinces, creates new military zones, builds new roads. He even tries to fix inflation with a law, the Edict on Maximum Prices. But prices still rose, and the law was ignored. He also reforms the army, smaller units, more mobile, better communication. But Diocletian was not just a reformer, he was deeply religious and traditional. He blamed the empire's troubles on the Christians. So, he began the Great Persecution, churches destroyed, books burned, Christians arrested. It was the most intense persecution the empire had ever seen, but it did not end Christianity. It only made it more resilient. Then, something rare happened. In the year 305 AD, Diocletian retired. Yes, he stepped down. Voluntarily, he moved to a palace in modern-day Croatia. There, he tended his gardens and lived in silence. When asked to return, he said, "If you could see the cabbages I grow, you wouldn't ask me to come back." With Diocletian gone, the Tetrarchy began to weaken. Rivalries returned, power shifted, and the empire moved again towards civil war. But for now, let us pause. The winds are still, the fields are quiet, and the empire stands, reformed, rebalanced, but not at peace. If your breath is slow, let it remain so. If your eyes are closed, let them stay. And if you are still listening, The next chapter will bring us to a name you may know. Constantine, a new kind of emperor. Constantine the Great in the Christian Empire, 306 AD to 337 AD. Welcome again. The empire has shifted, but it has not yet broken. The tetrarchy is beginning to collapse, and in the confusion, a new figure rises. His name is Constantine. You may have heard of him. He will be remembered, not just as emperor, but as a man who changed Rome forever. The year is 306 AD. Constantine is in Britain. When his father Constantius dies, the troops declare Constantine as emperor. But there are others who also claim the title. Too many, once again. There will be wars, rivals, marches, but Constantine moves slowly and steadily. In 312 AD, he prepares to fight one of his greatest rivals, Maxentius. They meet at the Milvian Bridge, outside Rome. Before the battle, Constantine has a vision. He sees a symbol in the sky, a cross, and the words, "In this sign, you will conquer." He paints the symbol on his soldiers' shields. They march, they fight, they win. Maxentius drowns in the river. Constantine enters Rome, triumphant and grateful. He becomes the sole ruler of the West, but he does not stop. By 324 AD, he defeats another rival, Licinius. Now, Constantine rules everything, east and west, the whole empire. But something else has changed. Constantine now favors Christianity. He issues the Edict of Milan. In 313 AD, it grants religious freedom to all, especially to Christians. No more persecution, no more fear. Churches are built, clergy are protected, Christianity begins to rise. But Constantine does not ban the old gods. He still honors them, publicly, privately. His faith grows. He also builds a new city, far from Rome, in the east, on the site of Byzantium. He calls it Nova Roma, but others call it Constantinople. Today, we know it as Istanbul. It becomes the new capital, a city of walls, domes, markets, and light. In his final years, Constantine grows more devoted. He calls church councils, supports bishops, standardizes belief. In 325 AD, he gathers bishops at Nicaea. They debate, they define doctrine. The result is the Nicene Creed, still used today by many Christians. In 337 AD, Constantine falls ill. On his deathbed, he is baptized. He dies as the first Christian emperor. With his death, his sons divide the empire. But Constantine's legacy will last. He made Christianity a part of Roman identity. He moved the capital. He reshaped the map of power. Now, Rome is Christian. The world is changing. But for tonight, let it all be still. Let the dome of the Hagia Sophia stay quiet. Let the bells fade. Let the empire sleep. If you're still with me, we will continue with part 14. The decline begins. Division, pressure, and the road to collapse. But if not, let your breath soften, let the marble cool, and let Constantine rest. Welcome back. We have followed the empire through glory, through chaos, through Constantine. But now, we begin the slow descent, a quiet unraveling, not sudden, not loud, just a steady fading. This is the beginning of the end. Constantine is gone. It is 337 AD. His empire is divided. 3 sons rule together. Constantine II, Constans, and Constantius II. But power does not like to be shared. Soon, there is conflict. One brother dies, then another. By 353 AD, only one remains. Constantius II. He rules alone. He promotes Christianity. He persecutes old temples. But quietly, he faces war in Persia and pressure in the west. He names his cousin Julian as Caesar. Julian is different. He studies Plato. He writes essays. He loves the old gods. And when Constantius dies, Julian becomes emperor. Julian the Apostate. He tries to restore pagan worship. Temples reopen. Statues are cleaned. But he rules for only 2 years. In 363 AD, he is killed in battle. Then comes Jovian, a Christian, chosen quickly, but he dies in his sleep a year later. Next comes Valentinian I. He is strong, rough, a soldier. He rules the west and gives the east to his brother, Valens. Once again, 2 emperors, but danger grows. From the north come the Goths, a people displaced by another people, the Huns. The Huns push the Goths. The Goths push into Rome. In 378 AD, at the Battle of Adrianople, Emperor Valens faces them. He does not wait for help. He charges. He is surrounded. He burns in a farmhouse. The Eastern army is destroyed. A terrible loss. Rome is now vulnerable. The West and East struggle to unite. Then, in 379 AD, a new emperor rises. His name is Theodosius I. He is pious, quiet, Christian. He makes Christianity the official religion of the empire. He bans pagan festivals, closes temples, ends sacrifices. Rome is no longer Rome of the old gods. Theodosius tries to hold things together. He fights invaders, makes peace with Goths, even welcomes them into the army. Some say that was wise. Others say it was the beginning of the fall. In 394 AD, he defeats a rival in the west, unites the empire again. But the unity is brief. In 395 AD, Theodosius dies. He is the last emperor to rule the whole Roman Empire, east and west, alone. After him, it will never be whole again. He leaves behind 2 sons, Arcadius in the east, Honorius in the west. Children, too young, too unready. Others will rule for them, while the world falls apart. So now, the empire is 2. The east will endure, but the west will begin to break. For now, let the Tiber run slowly. Let the hills of Rome grow dark. Let the statues gather dust. The glory is fading. The shadows grow longer. But the story is not yet over. Welcome back. The empire is split, east and west. 2 sons, 2 capitals, 2 paths. The year is 395 AD. And in the west, Rome begins to fall. Not with fire, not with thunder, but slowly, quietly, like a wall left untended, like a city forgetting itself. Honorius rules the west, but he is young, unready. The real power is held by a general, Stilicho, a soldier, loyal, clever. He fights the invaders, negotiates with the Goths, holds the frontier. But in 408 AD, Honorius has him killed. Rome loses its protector, and then the walls begin to shake. From the forests of the north come the Visigoths, led by a man named Alaric. They ask for land, for payment, for peace. Rome says no. So in 410 AD, Alaric marches to Rome. He surrounds it, starves it, and then enters it. For the first time in 800 years, Rome is sacked. Temples are looted, homes broken, statues toppled, but many are spared. Churches are left standing. Alaric does not destroy Rome. He only reminds it that it is no longer safe. He dies soon after, buried beneath a river. So his grave could not be found. The empire tries to recover, but pressure grows. From the north come the Vandals. From the east, the Huns. From within, corruption. In 451 AD, a great threat arrives. Attila the Hun. He marches into Gaul. Then Italy, the Romans plead. They send a bishop, Pope Leo I, he meets Attila. No one knows what was said. But Attila turns back. Rome is spared, this time. But in 455 AD, the Vandals come. They sail across the sea from Africa and sack Rome again. They take gold, jewels, everything. Rome is crumbling. Emperors rise and fall. Some rule for days, others for months. There is no stability, only shadows. In 475 AD, a boy becomes emperor. His name is Romulus Augustus, a name of beginning. Romulus, the founder. Augustus, the first emperor. But he will be the last. In 476 AD, a Germanic general named Odoacer deposes the boy. No battle, no parade, just a quiet end. He sends the imperial regalia to the emperor in the east and says, there is no need for two emperors. And so, the Western Roman Empire is over. No one notices at first. The city still stands. The market's still open. But the Senate is powerless. The legions are gone. The old world is finished. The Eastern Roman Empire will live on. But Rome, the heart, has stopped beating. And so, the story ends. From kings to consuls to emperors, from Romulus to Romulus. The eternal city has fallen, but its memory will never fade. Now rest. Let the ruins sleep. Let the marble rest. Let history be quiet now. You have walked through centuries, through wars and wisdom, through emperors and ashes. Let your breath be slow. Let the echoes fade. Let sleep take you. If you're still awake, there are more stories beyond Rome, of Byzantium, of Charlemagne, of the medieval world. But for now, the empire is silent. Byzantium and the survival of the Eastern Roman Empire, 476 AD, 565 AD. Welcome back. Rome has fallen. The Western Empire is no more. The boy emperor, Romulus Augustulus, is gone. The Senate is silent. The legions have vanished. The marble crumbles in the west. But not all is lost. Far to the east, the empire still lives. It has a new capital, a new name, a new rhythm. This is Byzantium, also known as Constantinople, today known as Istanbul. It lies on the edge of Europe and Asia, a city of domes and mosaics and calm waters. The empire continues. It still calls itself the Roman Empire, but others will begin to call it the Byzantine Empire. Though they speak Greek and pray to Christian saints, they see themselves as Roman. The first century after the fall of the West is quiet, not without challenge, but held together. There are emperors, there are courts, there are laws, and then, in the year 527 AD, a new emperor rises. His name is Justinian I. You may know it. His reign will be long, ambitious, complicated. But let us begin slowly. Justinian was born in humble surroundings, far from the capital, but he was clever and patient and rose through study and loyalty. He married a woman named Theodora, a former actress, strong-willed, wise. She would become his empress, his advisor, his equal. Together, they ruled. Justinian wanted to restore the empire, to take back the lands lost in the West. He sent generals to fight. Belisarius, his most famous general, led campaigns in Africa, Italy, and Spain. They won battles, took cities, raised the old flags. For a moment, Rome's shadow returned, but only for a moment. At home, Justinian reformed the laws. He compiled centuries of Roman law into one system. It was called the Corpus Juris Civilis, the body of civil law. Its influence will echo for centuries. Even now, modern legal systems remember it. Justinian also built grandly. His greatest work is a church, the Hagia Sophia, a dome so vast it seems to float, golden mosaics, light through windows, Stone that sings when empty, it stands today, still, quiet, sacred, but Justinian's reign was not peaceful. There was a plague. In 541 AD, the plague of Justinian began. It spread across the empire. Ships brought rats, rats brought fleas, fleas brought death. Millions died. Justinian himself fell ill, but he survived. Many others did not. The empire weakened. Revolts, invasions, strain, and yet Justinian endured. In 565 AD, he died in his bed, in his city, under the dome he had built. The empire continued, not strong, not stable, but still alive. And so end the reign of Justinian, from humble birth to emperor, from actress to empress, from broken law to lasting code, from dust to domes. If your eyes are heavy, let them rest. The waters of the Bosporus are calm. The bells of Constantinople ring slowly, and the mosaics glow without needing to be seen. If you wish to continue, we will enter part 17, the Byzantine Golden Age and the long slow decline. But if you rest now, the empire will wait. The Byzantine Golden Age and the long slow decline, 565 AD, 1025 AD. Welcome back. The domes of Constantinople still rise, the marble streets still echo softly, and the empire still endures. Rome is long gone, but the Byzantine Empire, the Eastern Roman Empire, carries on, quietly, gradually, for centuries more. We begin. In the year 565 AD, Emperor Justinian is gone, but his empire remains. It is smaller, weaker, yet alive. And for the next 4 centuries, it will face storms, and yet somehow survive. Invaders come. From the north, Slavs and Avars. From the east, Persians. Later, Arabs. In 626 AD, Constantinople is besieged. The people pray, the walls hold, and the city survives. In the 600s, a new threat rises. The Islamic caliphates, swift, powerful, expanding. They take Egypt, Syria, Palestine. The empire shrinks, trade declines, languages change, but Constantinople still stands. New emperors rise, some kind, some cruel, most forgotten, but the walls hold, the mosaics shine, and in the 800s, the light grows brighter, a revival begins. This is the Byzantine Renaissance. In 867 AD, a new dynasty begins, the Macedonian dynasty. It brings order, article law, and learning. Emperors like Basil I, and later Leo VI, support scholars, build churches, defend the empire. In the 10th century, the empire expands again. Basil II, called the Bulgar Slayer, rules with strength. He defeats enemies, strengthens borders, and fills the treasury. He never marries. He lives for duty. When he dies, in 1025 AD, the empire is wealthy, stable, strong. It seems Rome has returned, but would he? Only briefly. After Basil II, weak rulers follow. The treasury empties, the army weakens, and the long, slow decline begins. But for now, let us rest with the good years. Let the golden icons shimmer. Let the chants drift through basilicas. Let the blue and gold remain undisturbed. From Justinian to Basil II, the Byzantines have endured, not in glory, but in persistence. And if you are still awake, we will soon journey into part 18, the Crusades, the collapse, and the fall of Constantinople. But if your eyes are closed, let them stay. Let the domes darken. Let the candles burn low, and let the empire sleep a little longer. The Crusades, the collapse, and the fall of Constantinople, 1025 AD, 1453 AD. Welcome back. The golden light of Byzantium is fading. The domes still shine, the walls still hold. But inside, the empire grows tired. We begin. In the year 1025, AD Basil II is dead, and with him goes the last breath of strength. What follows is a slow unraveling, not sudden, not loud, just one thread at a time. Emperors come, but they are weaker. They trust the court, not the army. They spend gold, but do not replenish it. They rule, but without resolve. In 1071 AD comes a turning point, the Battle of Manzikert. The Byzantines fight the Seljuk Turks. They are defeated, utterly. An emperor is captured. The eastern provinces begin to slip away. Anxiety spreads. The empire cries out, and the West answers. The Crusades begin. Holy wars. Pilgrims with swords. Knights from Europe, marching east. Their goal is Jerusalem, but their path crosses Byzantium. At first, the Crusaders and Byzantines cooperate, reluctantly, but over time, suspicion grows. Cultures clash, languages divide, trust disappears. In 1204 AD, the Fourth Crusade goes wrong. The Crusaders do not reach the Holy Land. They turn on Constantinople. The greatest Christian city in the world is attacked by fellow Christians. The walls are breached, the streets are looted, the churches are defiled, gold is stolen, relics are shattered. The Hagia Sophia is desecrated. It is not a battle, it is a pillage. And for 57 years, Constantinople is ruled by outsiders. In 1261 AD, the Byzantines take back their city, but it is no longer the same. The population is smaller, the palaces are cracked, the spirit is broken. They try to rebuild, patch the walls, gather gold, but time is running out. From the east, a new power rises. The Ottoman Turks, strong, organized, patient. They take the surrounding lands, one by one, until only the city remains. In 1453 AD, they come. The Sultan, Mehmed II, surrounds Constantinople. He is only 21 years old, but determined. He brings cannons, huge ones. They pound the walls. For weeks, the Emperor, Constantine XI, refuses to surrender. He walks the walls, prays and fights. On May 29th, 1453, the Ottomans break through. The city falls. The last Roman emperor is killed. The Eastern Roman Empire is gone. After more than 1,000 years, the Hagia Sophia becomes a mosque. The banners change, the city changes, but the memory remains. Rome, Byzantium, is no more. But in its silence, it still whispers. Let the bells stop ringing. Let the torches burn out. Let the long, slow history be still. You have traveled far, from shepherd huts on the Tiber to domes over the Bosphorus. You've heard the voices of emperors and the hush of ruins. Now let it rest. Let the dust settle. Let the marble cool. Let the story sleep. If you are still awake, there are stories beyond Byzantium, of the Renaissance, of discovery, of new worlds. But for tonight, the empire has fallen, and the silence is beautiful. Epilogue, what remains of Rome. Today you are still here, and so is Rome. In its way, the empire is gone. The emperors are silent. The banners are folded. But Rome never truly disappeared. It only changed. If you walk today through the streets of Rome, you'll still find them. The stones, the columns, the echoes. You may hear water flowing through aqueducts, still working. You may see arches, still holding weight, that were built by hand, long gone. You may pass a forum where orators once argued, and where now only tourists whisper. In Constantinople, now Istanbul, you can still see the great dome of the Hagia Sophia. It has been a church, a mosque, a museum, and now a mosque again. It still stands. So does Theodosian's wall, though cracked, though forgotten by many. And in languages, you'll find Rome, Latin loves, in French, in Italian, in Spanish, in the names of stars, in medicines, and laws. In ideas, you'll find Rome, the Republic, the Senate, citizenship, justice. They are not the same, but they are echoes, shadows on the wall, memories, still living. Even in calendars, we remember the months of July for Julius, August for Augustus. Even in your sleep, Rome touches your time. Rome never needed to last forever. It only needed to last long enough to be remembered. And you have remembered it, slowly, quietly, without haste. You walked from hills of mud to domes of gold. You heard names spoken and forgotten. You saw empires rise and fade, all in a whisper. Now, let the story close. Let the page turn. Let the sun rise on ruins that do not mind. Let the marble rest. Let the dust settle back into history. This is the end of the Roman story. But it lives, wherever you are, in roads, in words, in the way we build, in the way we dream. And now, you may rest, truly rest. You've traveled through centuries, and you've reached a quiet place. Let your breath be steady. Let your eyes be closed. Let history sleep.